Good evening. Thanks for joining us. This is Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. I'm Ruth Aguele. As the world marks Press Freedom Day, President Muhammadu Buhari says his administration is committed to freedom of the press, but urges media professionals to wield freedom responsibly and without licentiousness. A statement by his media advisor, Femi Adesina, celebrating a landmark day with the media. The president notes that freedom of the press is an irreducible minimum in a democracy that would flourish. He says the fact that everything is permitted does not mean that there are no rules of correctness, particularly in a polity seriously challenged as Nigeria's. The media, he emphasizes, must be sensitive to what the country is going through as a country, saying anything that would worsen the situation and further inflame passions and emotions should be avoided. President Buhari pledges greater cooperation with the media to discharge its duties in line with the theme of this year's World Press Freedom Day, information as a public good, urging those who manage information for government to do everything in public interest. Similarly, President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan felicitates with Nigerian journalists as they celebrate this year's World Press Freedom Day. In a statement, Senator Lawan noted that May 3rd is set aside every year to remind governments around the world of their obligations to facilitate and respect press freedom, and also to remind journalists of the need to respect the ethics of their profession. Lawan stressed that the 9th Senate and the National Assembly in general will never pass any law that will inhibit the freedom of the press. In the same vein, Secretary to the Government of the Federation and Chairman of the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, Boss Mustafa, joins other eminent personalities to celebrate the Nigerian media on the occasion of the World's Press Freedom Day. The SGF, in a statement, assured media practitioners of the continued support of the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, while urging them to use their role as purveyors of news to build a strong and united country by adhering to the ethics of the profession. Well, the global challenges the world have faced during the COVID-19 pandemic underline the critical role of reliable, verified and universally accessible information in saving lives and building strong and resilient societies. Secretary General of the United Nations said this as the world marks the 2021 World Press Freedom Day. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday reports.
Freedom of expression and press freedom, analysts say, are critical to the successful implementation of good governance and human rights around the world. In commemorating the day, the UN scribe in a video message said, information as a public good is a call to affirm the importance of cherishing information and exploring what can be done in the production, distribution, and reception of content to strengthen journalism.
Journalists and media workers help us navigate a fast-changing and often overwhelming landscape of information while addressing dangerous inaccuracies and falsehoods. In too many countries, they run great personal risk, including new restrictions, censorship, abuse, harassment, detention, and even death, simply for doing their jobs. And the situation continues to worsen.
Antonio Guterres said both freedoms were essential for the shaping of a new global sustainable development agenda.
The United Nations Plan of Action on the Safety of Journalists aims to create a safe environment for media workers across the globe because information is a public good.
Steps to ensure the economic viability of news media, mechanism for ensuring transparency of internet companies, as well as defend and demand journalism as a vital part of information as a public good are some of the highlights of the day. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
And from Lagos, Kende is standing by to tell us more on the World Press Freedom Day and other reports, of course. Kende.
Hello, Ruth, and welcome to Lagos. In a world where fake news, conspiracy theories, and unfounded information have become the order of the day, the theme for this year's Press Freedom Day, information as a public good, is seen as timely in an attempt to redeem the image of the media. Our correspondent takes a look at this year's celebration and some of the key issues raised.
Maryland bus stop in Lagos is always a beehive. So I visit the area often to conduct my interviews. Like other days, I embarked on the journey and something happened.
That was Annie Daniels, an investigative journalist with the Nigerian Television Authority. In her line of duty, she has experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Who are supposed to give you the information you're looking for, elites. When you call them, they tell you they come tomorrow. You keep going to them, keep calling them, and you find out that they're just being scared. Can't even speak to me on this issue. After all, you were there, or you know so much about this case or this incident, about this particular topic at hand. You just have to keep hoping that someday things will get better, and also give journalists the respect, due them.
Her story is not different from other journalists world over. However, the Freedom of Information Act, which is a legislation that guarantees public access to records and information held in public domain, has opened doors of opportunities for journalists in Nigeria to have access to information.
We can also, through the Freedom of Information Bill, protect the interests of the public and, of course, expose some information that are hidden to members of the public. The right to know, for the public to know.
Just as the government is trying to make the journalism profession easy in the country, the media has had to tackle fake news, one of the very many cons of the new media. This has threatened the ethics of the profession. That is why the theme for this year's Press Freedom Day, information as a public good, is seen as being very apt.
You find out that because the profession is not regulated, it's now a profession for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You have people establishing blogs, online sites and what have you, just to place whatever they want there.
Those of us who are professionals are put on the defensive. So we have to mop the mess made by people who spread fake news, mostly on social media. Social media is the reason why fake news is prevalent. So it's more work for us because we have to go in depth, find out the facts, and present to the same public. And it's tough convincing the public that what they heard before was fake, that our version is the truth.
We have a committee in place, a disciplinary committee, to handle such matters.
For many Nigerian journalists like Annie Daniels, this year's celebration brings to bear the changing communication system that is impacting on health, human rights, democracies, and sustainable development, especially in a world just recovering from the deadly coronavirus. But we celebrate every journalist in Nigeria. Moving on now, Nigerian economy will attain the position as the most resilient in Africa through intra-Africa export growth and economic diversification on the basis of the African Continent Free Trade Area Agreement. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Sector Matters and Secretary, National Action Committee, AFCFTA, Francis Anatogo, at a meeting with stakeholders, was emphatic on the need to uphold rules of the origin of product. Abolade Salami reports.
Created with the objective to drive a single continental market and expand intra-African exports, the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement will also facilitate competitiveness of the continents in the world's trade ecosystem. In view of this, stakeholders are comparing notes and making suggestions on the need for rules of origin meant to serve as a determining factor to identify the nationality of products.
And when we look at the metrics of $50 billion non-oil export by 2035, this is essentially you can look at it as doubling what we get today from oil revenue. So if we are winning ourselves off oil, then at the minimum we must make as much as we make from oil today.
While they agreed that rules of origin remains crucial to the realization and success of the Continental Free Trade Agreement in changing the narrative of exports, this, key players submit, would also help the country realize its aspiration of economic diversification.
Should be noted that rules of origin are the criteria needed to determine the national source of a product.
This development is pivotal for the revival of trade and economy of African nations and Nigeria in particular.
The Economic Recovery Growth Plan and Ease of Doing Business initiative of the federal government aimed at stimulating growth and sustainability of the economy. Stakeholders expressed confidence will further support the country's chances at the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. In Lagos, Abolade Salami, NTA News.
You're still watching Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. Nationwide continues with Fatima in Makodi after the break.
Good evening and welcome to Makudi. Ensuring professionalism with truth and balanced reportage in information dissemination to the public has been observed as keys to good leadership and followership. These are the views of some members of the pen profession in Makudi as they join their counterparts globally to mark Press Freedom Day. Yvonne Solomon has details.
World Press Freedom Day is a day set aside by the United Nations General Assembly since 1993 to commiserate with journalists and highlight the difficulties they face while reporting truth. It requires that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression without interference to seek, receive and impart information and ideas through any media regardless of frontiers. The day is marked with art exhibitions, dinners and seminars to remember and award journalists who were unjustly tortured or even lost their lives in the course of the job. Although no formal event was organized in Makudi to mark the day, however, some members of the pen profession observed the due strategies to realize this truth as advocated with the Freedom of Information Bill.
One's right stops at where another one starts. The agitation for press freedom has been on and is still going to be on. There are so many other laws that are infringing on individuals' rights and then the freedom of the press per se. You have Official Secret Act, which is a law, and that is where you cannot publish anything just because you stumble at it as a journalist.
There are certain happenings in the society that before they go to the press, people have the privilege of having access to them. People have the privilege of getting the information before it goes to the information space. So, provided you hinge your messages on truth, even if there are people there trying to stand your way as to how to balance your report, you understand? You can still go ahead and say it.
The theme of this year's celebration is Information as a Public Good in Makudi. Yvonne Solomon, NTA News.
To promote security, Governor Samuel Otom has solicited the support of spirited individuals, humanitarian and non-governmental organizations, and other relevant authorities to support security agencies to tame the tide of criminality in Benue so that internally displaced persons in camps can return to their ancestral homes. The governor made the plea at the IDP's camp at Guma local government area of Benue State. Charles Abba reports.
In the wake of herders' farmers clashes, insurgencies, banditry and other humanitarian crises, over 800,000 persons have been displaced and are in internally displaced camps in various parts of the state. Life has continued to be unpleasant for the aged, the young and even children, especially in basic needs like food, shelter and clothing. It is to cushion the effects of their suffering that Governor Samuel Otom has chosen to visit one of the camps at Ukpam, Guma local government area of Benue State. In spite of the situation, the children in camp came up with a dance that took the governor out of his seat. Governor Otom said, in reflection of his difficult experiences in life, he knew no difference between him and the IDPs, but would give glory to God and promise to have more passion for God and humanity, especially the displaced persons.
We saw no need whatsoever celebrating in Makodi over 1 million IDPs in various camps. But we chose to come here where we have 27,000 IDPs. And we are happy and we are grateful to God Almighty
The governor's visit to the camp would remain indelible on the minds of the IDPs as he blessed them with cash and food items. From Ukpan, Duma local government area, Benue State, Charles Abba, NTA News.
In a bid to encourage youths in education, the Benue State government has decided to offer automatic employment to Andrew Wesite for clinching the overall best graduating student, Anojile Adache, with first-class honors from the University of Calabar in 2018-2019 academic session. Deputy Governor Benson Abonu described the feat as unprecedented. Charles Abba again reports.
The overall graduating students, Andrew Wesete and the first-class student, Ojile Adache, were medical students in the Department of Radiology, University of Calabar. Leader of the delegation of Benue students, Terence Kwanum, presented them to the state government. The Deputy Governor, Benson Abono, who expressed delight over the feat, announced the willingness of the state government to offer both graduates automatic appointment with the Benue State University Teaching Hospital. He lauded them for making Benue proud and prayed that they get to the peak of their profession.
The University of Calabar, a federal university that recruits students from all over the country. Two of our own in the same class, coming top, number 1 and number 2. I think it is something that I would say very hearty congratulations. If your university is retaining you, as they do, as is a tradition with the crop of graduates that you have, we wish you good luck. But if you should decide to come over here, we'll be so glad to have you.
The Deputy Governor further urged Benue students to emulate Andrew and Ojile to keep the state on the front burner of academic excellence. In Makudi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
And that's our contributions from Makudi. Nationwide continues with Ruth in Abuja.
For being a responsible employer and not resorting to retrenchment despite paucity of funds compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, guests on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria canvassed the need to measure the productivity of workers with key performance indices. Lydia Sampson reports.
To some measure, some level of responsibility in terms of management of labor issues at the federal level. No retrenchment. Consistent payment of salary, commendable. But can we really say that because Nigeria is not just a part, it's a whole? Can we say that with several of our state governments, there are regional agreements that are not even paying the 30,000?
That commendation was basis for further debate on the productivity of Nigerian workers compared with remuneration. The guests agreed that rising personnel costs is a huge burden on government.
Personnel costs is taking nearly 1/10.
It's not sustainable.
We are tackling it at the President Committee on Wages. The President set up a committee. We are coming out with some mouth-watering offers to civil servants who want to visit earlier. We pay them something and arm them so that they can even go into farming. We want to move more people into farming. We are going to redistribute. There are some agencies that don't have enough. That's why we said don't recruit. There's an embargo on employment now, on recruitment, so that we can distribute first and then an exit plan.
The introduction of key performance indices was emphasized to promote productivity of the workforce.
Let it be known to the employee that, look, in achieving this objective, the corporate objective or corporate goal, these are expectations from you, and when you do your own part, these are my obligations to you as well.
You have a workplace that should normally engage maybe 20 people. You now have 120 people working there. I mean, how do you split the work job description? How do you split the key performance indices among those people?
I keep hearing about you don't want to retrench and then you are paying people for doing nothing. That's part of the problem we are facing in this country.
They made strong advocacy for government at all levels to prioritize the welfare of workers for maximum productivity. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
Well, as Nigerian workers continue to bask in the euphoria of the 2021 May Day celebration, retired primary school teachers in Akwa Ibom State, owed gratuity since 1976, are receiving their entitlements. In a message to workers, the state government urged those yet to receive their gratuity to be patient, as the payment is in tranches. Clement Barikiu reports.
Earlier this year, the Akwa Ibom State government initiated the processes for the payment of gratuity to retired primary school teachers and their next of kin. The exercise came more than 30 years after these senior citizens were owed their entitlement.
2 years ago, people were verified and nothing happened after the verification.
Many of them did not see anything exciting in the entire verification process, as they claimed it was not the first time they were embarking on such exercise. This time around, however, the state government may be keeping to its words.
Up to 97 next of kin have received their payment in their banks. And for the living pensioners, up to 67 of them have received the gratuities. And also there's a group that is called a vulnerable group. Up to 11 of them have received the gratuities irrespective of the year that they retired.
A total of 5,296 retired primary school teachers and 1,838 next of kin are expected to receive the gratuity, and for them, this will be the best Workers' Day celebration gift. In Uyo, Clement Barakui, NTA News.
The last 10 days of Ramadan fast is regarded as emancipation from the hellfire. At such periods, the fasting Muslims across the globe intensify acts of worship such as reflection, devotion, generosity, and sacrifice to earn rewards. Eliasu Onotu Yakubu in this report tells us about the significance of the period and what Muslims should do to harness the multiple bounties from Allah.
Laylatul Qadr, the night of power and majesty, is one of the most sacred nights in the Islamic calendar. It takes place in the last 10 days of Ramadan and was also the night in which the Holy Quran was revealed to the noble Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. At this period, remembrance of Allah, recitation of the Holy Quran, giving charity and mercy, as well as seeking forgiveness, undertaking voluntary prayers day and night, as exemplified by the noble Prophet Muhammad, becomes common practice amongst the believers.
That very night is very, very essential for the entire Muslim Ummah. The Muslim Ummah should use the night also to seek for Allah's forgiveness and pray for the country that all the crises we are witnessing, we are seeing enough of all this, because we need to talk to Allah.
Ittikaf, the art of seclusion, presents the Ummah with a great opportunity to reconnect with Allah in solitude. These acts of worship are the goals for worshippers such as Mustafa Suleiman Alabaya for now, as he looks to maximize the opportunities presented by the closing days of Ramadan.
Whatever that we are doing in Islam, what Almighty Allah need in it is the fear of Allah.
The period provides women at the homestead with the opportunity to embark on charitable acts to the needy who are in fasting, a deed which they say gives them sense of fulfillment before the Almighty Allah.
Sharing, assisting, so many things. So the women are also encouraged to do that, just like the way men are doing.
As the Almighty Allah have said, we should do ibadah, reading of the Holy Quran, then giving sadaqat to people. That's what we are doing now.
Scholars say a strong start in acts of worship gives the worshipper determination and confidence to stay the course. Therefore, starting and finishing the Ramadan closer and more conscious of Allah should be the goal for all. Eliasu Onotu Yakubu, NTA News.
Well, Ramadan is 21 days today and counting. The last 10 days is very significant in the life of Muslims because there is one sacred night called the Night of Power, if you like, Laylatul Qadr. And to talk more on the final days of Ramadan and the bounties therein, I have been joined by Muhammad Kabir. He's the Imam of Wuye Jumaat Mosque, Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Imam.
Nice having you. Thank you so much.
I'm sure the last 21 days, and we're still counting, has been really good.
Exactly.
Okay, so tell us more about the last 10 days of Ramadan.
Well, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, wassalatu wassalamu ala nabi al-karim ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. The last 10 days of Ramadan, if you are talking of days, there are no any other days in that month that are as significant as they are. They are very virtuous in the sense that it is in those days that the night of power occurs. And the night of power is the night in which the Quran was revealed. The glorious Quran was revealed in the night of power, night of decree. And at the same time, in that very night also, we have budgeting. That is decree. Whatever is decreed to happen all over the year is going to take place on that night.
Interesting.
So you can see how significant it is.
Yeah, so what are Muslims supposed to do, during that period?
Well,
talking about the 10 days.
Yeah, the Muslims are supposed to add more in their activities of righteous deeds, to increase in the righteous deeds, like recitation of the Quran, praying more special prayers, giving out charity, stretching their hands to the needy, even visiting other people in order to gain the pleasure of the Almighty Allah. So more especially the prayer, the night prayer, the tahajjud, the night prayer of the last part of the night is called tahajjud, where it's only performed by the people who are determined, where people are feeling the comfort of their bed. You wake up to pray, it's only when you are determined and courageous that you can do it. So that prayer is very, very important in this very days. Why? Because we want to coincide with the night. Why? Because the night is hidden. So we are made to pursue the night through righteous deeds, either in the 21st, the night of 21st, or 23rd, or 25th, or 27th, or 29th, as mentioned by our Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So you can see how significant it is.
Yes.
So it is very, very virtuous that we, alhamdulillah, we thank Allah for seeing the beginning of the night, the last 10 days.
Okay.
And at the same time, in that very night of power, when we are talking about the night of power, Allah mentioned in the Quran saying, Laylatul Qadr khairu min alf shahr. That single night is better than 1,000 nights in the lifetime of some human being. So if you pray or if you perform any righteous deed in the night of power, it will be better than performing the same acts of ibadah, the same righteous deeds in over 83 and 4 months.
What you're saying is quite interesting for me. That is not even a Muslim. And prayer is something that every individual is supposed to hold very sacred. Now, we're in difficult times in Nigeria. How can Muslims, maximize the bounties, of this last 10 days to seek Allah's divine intervention for Nigeria? Actually,
even yesterday's night, when we were praying, at the interval, I made mention that people should not forget our country. This is the country that we only have. We have no any other place to go.
Yes.
That's where God wants to see you.
Yes.
So you have to pray that may Allah make this country a peaceful one, a country where you feel comfortable living there, not having this kind of terrorism or whatever is happening. So we tell people that, I told people that they should even intensify prayer more than what they need from God.
Yes.
If you need a car, even if you have a car or a house or you get married, when there is no security, you don't enjoy those things.
Yes.
So ask Allah for Him to bring back the security, peace and harmony and tranquility in our country, so that whatever you have, you enjoy it. But you don't enjoy anything if there is no security, there is no peace in the country. So I really enjoined people yesterday that they should not forget Nigeria in our prayers, and at the same time our leaders, for God to show them the way so that they can take us to the promised land.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Imam Muhammad Kabir, he is the Imam of Huye Jamaat Mosque here in Abuja. Thank you for your time with us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And wish you the best for the last 10 days.
Thank you very much.
Keep praying for us.
Thank you very much.
All right.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's go on a break. We're back. Stay tuned.
You can get more news and updates on www.nta.ng or follow us on our Twitter handle at NTA News Now. You can also like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/NTA Network News, and also stay connected and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Also remember to watch our news live streaming at www.nta.ng/live.
All right, welcome back. We hear that in Rivers State, Governor Wike meets traditional leaders of Ogoni land. What for? Jenny is set to tell us in Port Harcourt. Jenny?
Thank you very much, Ruth. Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike has tasked traditional rulers and community leaders to work with government to fight the security challenges confronting the country. This was when the leadership of the Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers in Ogoni paid him a visit at Government House, Port Harcourt. Ogeni Nyekwere reports.
With the spate of insecurity across the country and pockets of killings in the state, Governor Wike charged the traditional rulers from Ogoni land to support the government in fighting insecurity by providing useful intelligence and reporting suspicious movement in their domains to security agencies for prompt action.
All of you as traditional rulers, you have a role too to play in various domains. All these boys who are doing cultism, killing themselves, bringing crisis in your communities. Like the Permanent Lofter said, we are willing. If you don't want to give to police, give to us. We will handle it.
The Ogoni traditional rulers were at the government house to thank the governor for the numerous developmental projects and programs his administration has embarked in Ogoni land.
Today we are not going to beg anything. You have too many things to give to us, but today we are not begging anything. We are coming to say thank you to what you have done already.
This thank you visit is particularly to convey our joy and happiness for the construction of the Sakbewa-Bori Corner Road. The brand new road has strengthened the economy and commerce of Ogoniland.
They also notified the governor of the planned civic reception in his honor by the Ogonis, slated for the 15th of May 2021. In Port Harcourt, Ogedi Nyekwere, NTA News.
The Nigerian Red Cross Society has been commended for their support to the vulnerable and consistency to humanitarian services in the country. Evelyn Baduekbo reports that this was at a meeting with the Commissioner of Agriculture, Dr. Glory Edetin Uyo, Akwa Ibom State.
The Commissioner of Agriculture, Dr. Glory Edet, extolled the efforts of the Red Cross for supporting humanitarian services across the country, especially emergencies during disasters and communal clashes. She observed the state governor has created the peaceful environment that has allowed for smooth operations of organizations within the state.
Giving to the poor is something that everyone should be doing.
Branch Chairman of the Nigerian Red Cross Society, Dr. Samuel Ikon, reiterated the aim of the Red Cross, which is alleviating human suffering, protecting lives and caring for people in need since 1960.
We are an organization whose importance to the community lies foremost in the values we hold dear.
The Red Cross Society solicits support to host a conference in Uyo towards cushioning the impact of natural and man-made disasters. In Uyo, Evelyn Badu Epu, NTA News.
And Nationwide will continue with Mohammed in Maiduguri after the break.
Welcome to Nationwide from Maiduguri. Disease, a major cause of morbidity and mortality, especially among infants and the aged, has continued to record high number of cases being diagnosed in hospitals across Borno State. With nearly 500,000 persons treated for malaria in Borno in 2020 alone, government is sustaining collaboration with development partners to roll back the disease. Paul Nkujevana takes a look at the efforts to fight the scourge in Borno State.
Malaria is a life-threatening disease caused by a parasite which spreads to humans through the bite of infected mosquitoes carrying the Plasmodium parasite. With several strains of the disease active in Nigeria, Treatment often involves combination therapy of drugs. The geographical location of Borno in the sub-Saharan region and environmental factors are the major causes of breeding high number of mosquitoes, thereby causing malaria after bites.
My advice to people out there is you make use of mosquito insecticide treated bed nets, and they should keep their environment clean. Make sure they dispose water and other sewage and containers appropriately.
Here in Borno State, the disparity in the current and previous figures of cases recorded is a call for strategies and improved mobilization to fight the disease to a halt.
It may look like the number of cases have increased, but it is also showing that the range of reporting has been widened, staff have been trained, tools have been everywhere, and therefore the numbers seem to look higher in 2020.
The Permanent Secretary Minister of Health, Dr. Mohamed Guluzi, made non-government intervention plans to eliminate the disease.
We have an annual work plan that has been developed to ensure that malaria is contained and eradicated in Borno State. This ranges from environmental control.
The fight against malaria can be strengthened if residents can complement government efforts by ensuring that their environments are kept clean to rid off mosquitoes breeding spaces. In Maiduguri, Pauline Kujevana, NTA News.
In other news, Jama'atul Izadatul Bidya wa Iqamatus Sunnah Jibwis, Borno State has flagged off its annual Ramadan distribution of clothing materials to orphans and widows to enable them celebrate Eid al-Fitr this year. Food palliatives were also given to vulnerable persons in the society with a call on the wealthy to reach out to the needy in their communities, especially the victims of Boko Haram crisis. Abubakar Muhammad Musa has the details.
It has been estimated that there are more than 70,000 orphans living in Borno State, mostly in Maiduguri metropolis, and left unattended too, thereby likely to fall victims of societal vices and criminality. Most of the widows and orphans are victims of the over a decade of insurgency who are displaced from their communities. As part of effort to reduce the number to its barest minimum, Jama'atu Izalatul Bid'a wa Iqamatus Sunnah Jibwis decided to address the plight of these orphans by giving them clothing materials to enable them celebrate Eid al-Fitr at the end of Ramadan. Chairman Jibwis Borno State, Ustaz Babogoni Abdu, explained that 5,000 orphans and 50 widows will benefit from the organization's annual Ramadan program. The leadership of Jibwis Borno State is sparing no effort in ensuring the zones earmarked for the gesture receive the items.
Karkashin kungiyar ne muke gudanar da al'amura. Ita kungiyar karan kanta ba ta da wani kuɗi ajiyayye da take wannan aiki. To amma tana bin masu kuɗi, masu hannu da shuni, ma'aikatan gwamnati da ƙungiyoyi takan nemi taimako saboda a samu a tallafa wa marayun.
The key message by other executive members of Jibwis is for the society, especially wealthy individuals, to always reach out to orphans for God's abundant blessings. The children prayed God to consider members of Jibwis among the fortunate ones in the hereafter for giving them a sense of belonging. Among those who graced the Ramadan distribution to widows and orphans were the representatives of the Shehu of Borno and that of wife of the state governor, as well as religious leaders led by Chief Imam of Borno. In Maiduguri, Abubakar Muhammad Musa, NTA News.
Those are the reports from Maiduguri. Nationwide continues with Ruth in Abuja.
Thank you, Mohammed. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the establishment of a National Center for the Control of Small Arms and Light Weapons to be domiciled in the Office of the National Security Advisor. A statement from the Office of the National Security Advisor says the center replaces the defunct Presidential Committee on Small Arms and Light Weapons and shall serve as the institutional mechanism for policy guidance, research and monitoring of all aspects of small arms and light weapons in Nigeria. The impact of the proliferation of small arms and light weapons across national borders in Africa and the Sahel region has resulted in terrorism, human trafficking, organized crime, and insurrections in West Africa and Nigeria. Hence, the need to upskill measures to tackle tackle this threat. The statement notes that the new center will be fulfilling the requirements of the ECOWAS moratorium on import, export and manufacture of light weapons, as well as the UN Plan of Action to prevent, combat and eradicate the illicit trade in small arms and light weapons. Major General Abba Mohamed Diko, former military advisor, United Nations Office for West Africa and Commander, Operation Lafia Dole, has been appointed the pioneer coordinator of the center. The Department of State Services says it will no longer tolerate deliberate machinations by subversive and hostile groups whose agenda is to throw the country into anarchy so as to serve the interests of their sponsors. A statement by the DSS spokesperson, Dr. Peter Afunanya, explains that even though democracy offers free speech, it does not give room for reckless pronouncements that is capable of undermining security. The DSS therefore warns self-centered individuals to stop engaging in acts inimical to the peace and sovereignty of the nation. The service therefore reaffirms its support to an indivisible, indissoluble and united Nigerian state in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Meanwhile, the service is working with other security and law enforcement agencies to ensure the maintenance of peace and internal security of the country. And more on security, operatives of the Nigerian Police Force attached to the Ebonyi State Police Command have intercepted 753 live ammunition of general-purpose machine gun concealed in a sack being transported from Abakaliki, Ebonyi State to Umuahia in Abia State. A statement by the Force PRO CP Frank Omba indicates that the intelligence-driven covert operation is part of efforts by the force to crack down on criminal networks and supply chains for weapons and ammunition in and around the country. Similarly, following investigations into the failed bank robbery on the Onu Eke branch of a commercial bank in Ebonyi State on Tuesday, 27th April 2021. Police stormed the criminal hideout of suspects indicted in the investigation at Oriuzu village in Eza North local government area of Ebonyi State, where 3 gang members met their Waterloo following bullet injuries sustained during the exchange of gunfire. Meanwhile, efforts are ongoing to arrest other fleeing members of the gang and their spiritual godfather. In the meantime, on May 1st, 2021, gunmen driving in a white bus attacked the Abomege Divisional Police Headquarters in Onitsha local government area of Ebonyi State and started shooting sporadically at the policemen on duty, while also attempting to set the police station ablaze. In the process of repelling 2 police officers were injured. The Commissioner of Police, Ebonyi State Command, CP Aliyu Garba, has vowed to do anything within the ambit of the law to ensure the perpetrators are brought to book. Well, as the nation continues to seek solution to the rising insecurity in the country, Ebonyi State government, in collaboration with Christian Association of Nigeria, Ebonyi State chapter, has declared 7 days fasting and prayer in the state, with a call for the political class to desist from utterances and actions capable of fueling crisis in the country. Chika Okorie reports.
While praying God to help the nation come out of insecurity, Governor David Umahi alleged that some of the crises going on in parts of the country were politically motivated. He called on the political class to eschew politics of calumny, rancor and bitterness, stressing that the state and country can achieve more development if citizens are on the same page with government. He emphasized the need to pacify the youth whose future were shortchanged, as it will stem the rates of criminalities in the society.
But the leaders never preserve life for the future of our country. They have no jobs, they have no means of livelihood, and it's been a very long time. The leaders know how to take care of themselves.
The 7 days program aimed at seeking God's intervention on the security situation in the state and the country at large will also pave way for stakeholders' engagement in addressing youth-related challenges in the state. In Abakaliki, Chika Okori, NTA News.
Right, government and people of Niger State are seeking God's intervention to end incessant security challenges that have continued to rock the state. The special prayer session organized by the State Forum of Ulamas, Traditional Institute and other Islamic organizations was held at Mina Central Mosque. Husseina Musa reports.
Reports have shown that thousands of people in 50 communities have been displaced by bandits and currently taking refuge in neighboring communities and the state capital. The special prayer session, which was led by the chief imam of Mina, Malam Ibrahim Isa Fari, featured Quranic recitation by a large number of ulamas to seek Allah's infinite love and mercy to mankind to heal the land and put a permanent end to the security challenges bedeviling the state and country at large.
For 8 hours, we have received a lot of support with regards to security agents from the federal government, and I believe they are mobilizing themselves.
The governor also enthused that with the present vigor and commitment by the federal government and other stakeholders to end insurgency, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Emina Hussein Musa, NTA News.
Repairs have commenced on rail line in Ungwarshanu of Kaduna Metropolis following derailment of train conveying water pipes to Zaria. The Nigeria Railway Corporation mobilized 2 sections of the line allegedly vandalized. Well, it is expected that work will be completed in the next few days to allow free movement of train service from Lagos to northern parts of the country. For quite a long time, there has been no formal recognition for the millions of Nigerians in the diaspora, despite their significant contributions to growth of the economy. But recent approval of the national policy on diaspora by the Federal Executive Council is going to change things for the better. Their voices is now to be heard. Osman Aliyu reports.
It's very rare to remember those days of empires and colonies. That was the time when the now developed economies in their hours of need turned to Africa, including Nigeria. It's indeed a forgotten story about those sacrifices, and in these modern times, more than 17 million Nigerians, full of creativity and energy, are in the United States of America, United Kingdom, Europe, Asia, and other parts of the world, leaving hints of their daunting reputations and legacies, just as they contribute for the economic and social development of their origin.
You cannot ignore a group that is contributing to the economy of this country through remittances to their families. Now, these remittances to their families have kept the families going, and that way getting the economy going. So you cannot ignore a group that has been an economic factor, setting in almost about 6% of our GDP, contributing almost 6% of our GDP. Now, the diaspora is definitely an economic factor. Now we're moving on to ensure that they become an investment factor, investing in their country. We have Nigerians that own some critical parts of the world, and I mean that.
And it is in this regard, for the first time, the government celebrate, honor, and recognize the diaspora community with a policy framework approved by the Buhari's Federal Executive Council.
This policy will ensure that Nigeria does everything to engage its citizens abroad. I mean, we've been paying lip service to the fact that we are the best in the world. There's nowhere you don't go to that Nigerians are not excelling. So what do we do about that? How do we get them to contribute to their home country? How do we get them to the part of the development of their home country? This policy will make sure that all that happens.
Nigerians in the diaspora travel the world after all and are getting new ideas and new perspectives, just as they understand that all races, black and white, are all humans, capable of courage, intelligence, and otherwise. Now, with the new national policy put in place, development experts believe diasporas will have more faith for the better future of Nigeria. In Abuja, Usman Aliyu, NTA News.
Sport update is next with Badia Delea.